Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mandy, the Handmade Homeschooler, and today I have a little bit of a heavier topic, but I think this might be useful for you, especially if you have to homeschool on the go, whether that is for vacations and things like that, or if it's like my family and you have to do it for emergency reasons. This might be helpful for you. If you haven't yet, make sure you hit the like and the subscribe button, and down below in the description box, I have a free trial to the curriculum I'm going to be talking about today. If you follow my channel at all, you might have seen the last couple of videos that I've done over the past, 8 weeks or so about my youngest child having ITP. ITP is a blood issue, it's autoimmune, it runs in my family, and we didn't even know that it ran in my family until this last January. So the doctor that my child has to see is over 2 hours away, and it's at a specialty children's hospital. So when I say we've been doing homeschool on the go, I mean we've really been doing homeschool on the go. We have missed days at a time, and then when he was actually in the hospital, we missed like an entire 10 days. Like, it was just gone. And that put a serious kink into my homeschool, as I'm sure all you homeschool mamas can imagine. It just, everything blew to bits. And I had to figure out a lot of things to make my homeschool work, and I had to do things I had never done before. We had to really rearrange our schedule in a brand new way to make life work for us. So one curriculum in particular is what I wanted to really bring your attention to, because I did not know about some of these features until I had to use them. And I think that that happens more often than not when we have to find these new features, is we don't know about them until we actually have to use them. So the curriculum that I'm going to talk about today is teaching textbooks, because that is our math curriculum, and that is the one that I don't want them brain dumping, and basically how we have handled this subject all throughout this year and pretty much since Christmas time, because it was right after Christmas that all of this happened, and now we're up to almost March. Or no, we are in March. Holy moly. Yeah, we are in March. And see what I mean? Basically, it's everything since Christmas time has basically been a blur in my life. So I needed something that makes life a little bit easier. So first I want to mention, when things get crazy, one of the things that I focus on is the big four, okay? I talk about this in my How to Homeschool course. The big four is language arts, math, science, and history, and everything else pretty much falls away, and I just focus on those four. And even if it's really, really crazy, the only two I will focus on is math and language arts. And there's a reason behind that. Math is one of the things that kids brain dump the quickest, and that one can do the most harm for when you have to go back to school. And as a teacher and somebody who's been homeschooling for a long time, I can tell you that you will spend quite a bit of time at the beginning of every school year basically relearning the concepts that they brain dumped the previous year, especially if they have a regular length summer of the 3-month period that the public schools use. They'll actually have to go over those concepts again to basically refresh their memory and get back on track before they can learn the new concepts, because all of those old concepts are basically the foundation for the next one. So math, you go in a certain order with all of the different math classes because you basically build on top of each other. So brain dumping is something that I really focus on, and I don't want that to happen. So our breaks tend to be a little bit shorter in my homeschool, which is okay. So teaching textbooks has several features that make on-the-go homeschooling so much easier, and I did not know about these, again, until I had to use it. So when all of this happened, I actually talked to my teaching textbooks representative, and she let me know about these features and told me about a couple of things that I didn't even know about that just made my life so much easier, especially if my son has to go back for a treatment at the children's hospital. And now every time a hospital visit comes around, I basically have several things packed and ready to go because I know what to do now. So teaching textbooks works with an app type of system. Now, don't think that you have to have some kind of iPhone to use these apps. You can actually use these apps on pretty much any device. So my Windows computer has this app, my Apple computer has this app, and you can even put it on your phone or your Kindle, like whatever you have, you can put these teaching textbooks apps on. And you can download it to multiple devices per enrollment. So, well, okay, let's say I have my 10th grader and my 6th grader. I can download their math on all my devices if I want to. I don't have to be restricted to one device, which is really good because my kids have like a computer that they use here at the house, and that's like their school computer. But the computer that I take, the laptop that I take to the hospital is my MacBook, and I don't take that big clunky computer because it's too much to carry around. I take my slim little MacBook here, which I really love, and I have like a special carrying case for it, and I can just put it with our luggage when we go to the children's hospital. And that makes my life a lot easier because I can just set it up for him while my child is getting his treatment. Now, before you yell at me, why am I making him do math when he's in the hospital? It's not like he's sick. So this children's hospital actually has PlayStations set up in each and every room, and the room where he gets treatment has a PlayStation in it. And he basically just sits there and plays PlayStation for 6 hours, and we're not a video game family. So it's a perfect time for me to slide him over a book because he can't move the one arm anyway because he's getting an IV treatment. It's a perfect time for him to use that tray that they have in the hospital rooms to put the computer on there and actually do his math work so he's not getting behind. And it kind of kills, you know, some time too, so he's not just sitting there playing PlayStation all day. Now, the cool thing about the app system is it syncs between all of the apps. So if he does his math at the children's hospital on my MacBook, when we're connected to the internet, it's going to sync to our home computer, which is already hooked up to the internet, and that lesson is going to update. So basically, any device that he does his math lesson on, which does not require internet, anytime it connects to the internet, it's going to sync to all the devices. So his grade will be updated, his book will be updated, everything's updated. So no matter where they do math or what app they do math on, it syncs to all of the devices. So I don't have to worry about going in and updating things or having, one saying that lesson 20 is done, but lesson 20 isn't done on the one on the home computer. I don't have to worry about that. And the other thing is it doesn't need internet. So if my oldest child is at the hotel room and there's no internet there, he can still do his math lesson. And then as soon as we get home and hit our home internet signal, it'll update and everything will be, all the same on all the devices. So that's also really, really cool. So one thing that I do not have the brain capacity for right now is grading papers. I know it makes me sound terrible, but I just have only so much room left in my brain for things like grading math work or anything like that. So teaching textbooks has an automatic grading system to where I don't have to even think about grading algebra while I'm sitting there in the hospital worrying about my kid. So that is such a huge weight off of my shoulders as well. So I do want to mention that if you want to try teaching textbooks out without actually having to buy an enrollment, you can do that. And that's how I figured out from our last math curriculum, because our last math one was causing multiple problems, unfortunately, with my kids. They just weren't getting it. And I was like, I've heard about this teaching textbooks. I just want to give it a try, but I don't actually want to buy a whole enrollment. They have free trials. And this was how I figured out that this one is one that I wanted to invest in. So I'm going to leave a link down below in my description box, and you guys can check out that link and go get a free trial and just see if your kids like it. The other thing that I love that is a huge weight off my shoulders is teaching textbooks has a hotline that I can call for help. And although I have never personally had to use it, I do have friends who have had to use it. And it's like having someone holding your hand who's not even there, but they are there. And it's a peace of mind reassurance type of thing. And I've said it many times before in other videos that the whole math aspect, the whole teaching math thing is the one thing that would have kept me from homeschooling, because I don't really do well with math. I am not a math teacher. So teaching textbooks not only teaches the lesson to your kid, but if they get stuck on something and you don't know how to do it, because trust me, I'm not going to be able to do 10th grade geometry while we're at the hospital. I can call this number and they can talk to me and my child and help them through it. So that's also something really cool. I don't think many programs and curriculum will actually offer something like that. So that's huge in my world. The pause feature. You guys, teaching textbooks works on an enrollment type of system. So it's not a subscription, but it's an enrollment. And when you buy that, if something happens, like what's been happening to us, and you can't complete it for a month and you know you're going to be out for an entire month, what you can do is you can go into your account there, because there's a parent account and a child account. Go into your account, check out that pause feature and hit that pause button, and you can pause your enrollment for a given amount of time, which is a huge weight off of your shoulders, because I've had all kinds of life events like deaths and things like that happen, and there's just no way we can do school for a while. And, you know, life happens. You know, life happens whether in their public school or if they're in homeschool, and sometimes we just can't do school, you know, so that pause feature is really, really, really helpful. There are no textbooks. I know it's called teaching textbooks, but there are no textbooks. You have an ebook, and we have honestly never had to use it. I have been using teaching textbooks, I think, since the second year we've been homeschooling. So about 2016 is when we started teaching textbooks. Not once have I ever opened the ebook that comes with your enrollment. Even back when they were doing CD-ROMs, which when I started teaching textbooks, we were doing CD-ROMs with them, and they didn't have like that, the app system yet. And on your disc, there is like an ebook, like a PDF type book that you can print it out or whatever you want. I've never had to use it. And now that we're in the app-based system, it's the same thing. There is a ebook feature inside of there. And I've noticed a lot of curriculum companies are going to ebooks. So if you're having an aversion to ebooks, it might be something we have to get used to. I have noticed a lot of companies going to this feature. It saves a lot of money. And honestly, for people with smaller homeschooling spaces, you know, my husband was in the military up until just a couple of years ago, and we had to move from house to house. Do you know how heavy those books are to move from place to place? And most of the time when we lived in military housing, we did not have a homeschool room or a homeschool space. We just had the kitchen table and a shelf of books. And, you know, up until we lived in this house, we really had no other place to do homeschooling. So, you know, sometimes you don't have the space for that, and math books are typically pretty heavy. And it's really saved me from having to lug around a textbook back and forth to the hospital. So having all of that online has been extremely convenient for me, and I've really appreciated not having to lug a textbook back and forth to the children's hospital several hours away. It's just one more thing to pack, you know, like it's one more thing to remember, one more thing to pack, and it's really heavy. So neither one of the kids need a textbook. All I have to have is whatever they're doing math on, whatever device that is, and they're good to go. So I really appreciate the fact that there's no textbook with math with this one. All right, that is all I have for this video. I hope that you guys learned something that you could take away from this for school on the go, because a lot of these things, even though we're not exactly on vacation, we have had to do school on the road. So I know a lot of people do road schooling, and a lot of people take vacations. We've actually taken a vacation before our first year of homeschooling, and we did school like while we were vacationing. And I know that sounds completely crazy, but I was a newbie homeschooler, okay? Cut me some slack. And we did homeschool like in the hotel room because we were staying on a schedule. And this would have been so much easier had I known that teaching textbooks existed, so I wouldn't have had to lug the math books with me, and I could have just done it on the computer. So there's a lot of things that I think really help with school on the go, and these are just some of the features that I have found recently through talking to my teaching textbooks rep and everything that I think might be helpful to you as well. I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and as always, happy homeschooling.